All right, welcome back, Algebra 1. Here we go, guys. We are now in section 5 of chapter 4, okay? We are solving absolute value equations. All right, we've done a little bit with absolute value in the past. I believe we kind of touched on that in chapter 1, maybe a little bit in chapter 2. And so it's coming back, and we have a full section all dedicated to it. And I'm going to give you a heads up that the next section is also dedicated to the absolute value equations. We just got to make sure that we're paying attention. We understand the main concept here. All right, look at that first note. Remember, anything inside the absolute value lines will come out as a positive. Now, I want you to understand if there's only one number in there or only one variable in there, then it's pretty straightforward. It's going to come out as a positive. But if there's an expression, that means there's like a little equation inside the absolute value and you can solve it, then you would need to then solve it. But then the answer that comes out is always the positive. Okay? All right. So let's keep moving. Also, don't treat absolute values like parentheses. That's very different. Okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is normally, if you have a number outside of parentheses, you would distribute that number in. Don't do that. That's not how we treat absolute value lines, okay? You're going to see exactly what I mean through multiple example problems here, okay? All right, so the next thing is you have to take care of everything that's outside of the absolute value lines first, all right? You're going to have these absolute value lines, something inside of it, but you may have something connected to the absolute value on the outside. You may have something saying plus or minus. Deal with that first. The last thing you're dealing with is the absolute value lines. Okay, that's important. Don't forget that. Write that down. All right. Now, the absolute value equations, though, will have two answers. Okay, why do they have two answers? Because they need to represent both the positive and negative options. Meaning, let's say the answer inside the absolute value was just 5. Well, then the absolute value didn't really do a whole lot because it's going to come out as 5 either way. But what if you have an equation inside the absolute value that gives you an answer of -5? But still, though, what's it going to come out as? It's going to come out as a +5. So you have to represent both because absolute values will always create positives. Okay, so let's go through. And one last note here. Remember, though, if all you have, let's say, is an absolute value, and I gave you an example of what I'm talking about. If all you have left is an absolute value on one side, okay, in this example, absolute value x plus 4, equaling a negative number, that's not possible, because what does an absolute value do? It makes everything positive. So if this is what you're left with, and you're going to see what I mean in at least one of the example problems, after you take care of everything that's outside of the absolute value, because remember that's step 1, you may be left with a negative number, a negative constant by itself. That's not possible. So what's your answer? Your answer is no solution, because you can't get that. The absolute value would create a positive. All right, so let's go into it. Here we go. First one, simply absolute value of x is 4.5. If this is what we're introing, I'll show you what I mean by representing both parts, okay? So you have to represent, what if x were 4.5? What's the absolute value of 4.5? 4.5. Boom, there's one of our answers. But you must represent both parts. So that means that x could also have been -4.5, because what would the absolute value do to it? It would make it come out as a positive. So your answer is both of these parts. Again, absolute values will have two answers. You got a positive that comes out as a positive, but you have the negative that could also come out as the negative. All right, actually come out as the positive, sorry. A little flip up on the words there. Here we go. Moving into example 2. All right, so this is what it looks like when you actually have a little equation. You need to write it two ways. The first way you write it is just the way they give it to you. X minus 7 equals 9. No absolute value needed because we're going to write it both ways. But the second way, x minus 7 equals -9, because you always have to represent both parts. Okay, because what will it come out as? Yes, it will come out as a positive 9. But if inside the absolute value it were -9, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when it comes out, you will still get this guy right here, the positive 9. Okay, so now let's go through. Let's solve each little equation. Add 7, x equals 16. That's one of our answers. All right, over here, add 7. Pay close attention now. It's a -9. So x equals a -2. That is the other one. And if we were to plug those into the absolute value, 16 minus 7 is just 9. So that's good. That works. -2 minus 7 is -9, but the absolute value of -9 is 9. So that's why that one works, and you've got to show both. All right. Let's move into one that's a little bit more intricate here. We got stuff that's outside of the absolute value. And what do? We do that part first. And what of those two things do we do first? You got a 4, and then you see that you have a -5. The first thing you do is you take care of that -5 by adding 5. Okay? Just like those multi-step equations, you do the add or subtract part first, then you do the multiply or divide part second. Okay, so that will go away. The 19 plus 5 is going to give us 24. And what we have left is a 4, absolute value x plus 9. Got to get rid of that 4. So we divide both sides by 4. That allows us to cross out the 4, leaving just the absolute value, and 24 divided by 4 gives us 6. So now we have absolute value x plus 9 equals 6. Okay, now it's going to be very similar, if we scroll up a little bit, to the problem we just did, an absolute value equaling a number. And you'll notice the 6 is positive. So it's a true statement. This will work. Okay, so let's represent one of the equations right here is write it as is. X plus 9 equals 6. Okay, now the other one over here, x plus 9 equals, and what should it be? -6. You need to represent the other side of it. Okay, so we'll solve this one, -9, -9. And this one is x equals a -15. There's one of our answers. And then over here, we're going to, again, -9, -9. That crossed out. X equals, and you have 6 minus 9. So what's that going to be? A -3. All right, both of our answers there. X is -3. X is -15. So when we plug those in, if you were to work all that out, you would get one of them representing a positive 19, one of them representing that negative side. It all works out perfectly. Actually, sorry, +6, one representing a -6, but it all comes out the way that it should. Okay, let's solve another one. Here we go. The more, the merrier, because it helps. All right. So what do? Take care of what's outside the absolute value first. What part of that do we do first? We take care of that +4. So we're going to say -4, -4. All right, so we got 2 absolute value x minus 5 absolute value equals, and that's now going to be a -2. Okay, let's see if things change here a little bit. How do we get rid of this 2? We divide by 2, divide by 2, gone, gone. I see absolute value x minus 5 equals a -1. Is that possible? Let's look back up at the top. Look at our notes. Absolute value equaling a negative is not possible. No solution. So let's go back down. I have an absolute value equaling a negative number. Not possible. Okay, pay close attention. This guy right here, that's a big ol' nope. No solution. Excellent. All right, that works. Okay, here we go. Last one. All right. Start with what's outside the absolute value. Start with the addition or subtraction. Add 7, add 7. Okay. -3, absolute value, x plus 2 equals a -3. Let's keep going because we don't know. It might change on us here. Divide both sides by a -3. That goes away, that goes away. I see absolute value, x plus 2 equals, what's -3 divided by -3? A +1. It turned back to a positive. That's why you need to keep going until all you have left is an absolute value equaling something on the other side, because this one works out now. So we need to represent both parts. All right, one part over here, x plus 2 equals 1. X equals a -1. Okay. Whew, running low on space. Okay, that's fine. We can do the second part right up here. X plus 2 equals a -1. X equals a -3. There is our answer there. Okay, so pay close attention, guys. Watch these videos. Rewatch the example problems. You got questions, come to class with your questions. All right? You guys can do this. All right? Keep working hard. I'll see you in the next one.